but where are you uploading it to? You gotta put it.
Instagram TV.
No. Remember I told you they can only take 10-minute clips, so I gotta edit out what I want. So put it in like the Google Drive, you know, that folder where we share pics for yeah. Upload it to that, and then I can get it and decide what I want to pull out. Yeah, from the hometown. Okay, I'll do my best to remember that. Okay. We're Kiwiing.
Chanel for coming. We're having far too much fun. Folks, welcome to Unity on the River. Today we are really happy to celebrate the Ricky Byers concert from last Wednesday, or a couple weeks ago. It was so much fun. So today is Ricky Byers Day. And what I loved about being in the audience was Revo played the keys, which was great. And I got to be in the crowd, and it was so fun to sing along with everybody. So have at it. Sing along a lot. Got a tinge of a cold today, so the more you sing, the happier I am. I might pull less up here if it gets bad. But just have a great time singing along, because that was so much fun to hear you all sing. I cried with joy. It was awesome. So today we'll do the same thing. We're going to do medley and just go, go, go. All right, here we go. This is In the Land of I Am.
More than I will be.
in the dreams of a better day to come, in the dance of heaven with the earth all live, they all live. In the land of I am, more than I have been, I am, more than I will be, I am, all that I am. In the land of I am, more than I have been, I am, more than I will be, Ricky Byers. That was awesome. All right, thank you, folks. If you are comfortable staying standing and joining the hand of the person next to you, this is our congregational song, Surely the Presence.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. As each of you bring that in through the doors with you. The presence of God resides fully at the point of where each of you is. God is there because you are there. So remember this truth. Anchor yourself in this truth. When it feels like there is no hope and all is lost, God is there because you are there. So today we come together to remember that, to grow in that, to expand our consciousness in that, to celebrate that, to sing about that, to speak about it, to share with each other about it. We are the presence of God. We are the presence of God. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. You may be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity on the River. If perchance we have not met yet, I am Reverend Ogun Holder, Senior Minister here. So thrilled that each and every one of you have chosen to spend your Sunday morning here with us. And as fall is rolling in, they promised me last week, fall isn't here yet, but it's a little chilly this morning. And I'll be rolling the long sleeves out. In another month, I'll be wearing jackets. By January, I'll have 3 layers on. But here's the thing, I know that as the seasons change, your presence remains constant, and it brings me joy to be here every Sunday. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're bringing the presence of God with you wherever you show up. And in fact, as I love to say every Sunday morning, if you want to see the face of God, you simply look at the face of another, turn at someone and say, God looks good today. And please remember to tell yourselves that in the mirror every morning. I'm going to start asking people on Sunday morning, did you tell yourself God looks good today when you were in the bathroom mirror this morning? This is the truth. God also looks good in this hilarious, charming, effervescent presence of the divine Mickey Lucia. Thank you, Mickey, for being here today.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity. I am Mickey Lucia. I'll be facilitating for the lovely Reverend Ogun, who does double duty on the keyboards, I see. That's fantastic. God looks good today. I like that. So welcome to Unity. Who's here for the first time? Raise your hand. Really? Who wants a flower? All right, we'll save those flowers then. Let's say hi to the streamers. Hi, streamers. I hope you're enjoying us. I always say it, with your cup of coffee and your jammies, maybe. Thanks for coming, everyone, today. Unity is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Please hold these truths in your heart as we say together our mission and our vision statement. Let's really take this in. Vision statement together. We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. And let's say our vision statement together. Centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. Some announcements, of course. Let's join Corey McLaughlin for the Embodying Soul Journey Dance this Friday at 7 p.m. There's more information, of course, on the website about that. Today, Healers Open House right after service. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but these are just tastes of the different modalities. One of the modalities is yoga that Brad will be just showing just a quick glimpse of the type of yoga he does. You can do it in church clothes. No problem. So you can visit him. He'll be over at the Divine Paradigm Center. There's also going to be other folks doing different things. We're looking for one more website sponsor. There's only one slot left. Pressure's on. Who wants it? Valuable space, valuable space. See Peter, or you can check the website. Actually, probably talk to Peter about that. And then last but not least, what are you doing on November 10th? You're coming to the gala. So there's more information on that on the website as well. That's the date, November 10th, 2018. So now let's take that time in our service where we look at each other. We see the Namaste. Now it's time for our heart opener. Let my soul surrender.
What am I to do? What am I to feel? 'Cause I am like a child, but you are with me still. Listening in the silence, even in the sadness. everywhere you are. Everywhere you are. Let my soul surrender. The greater I shall be. What I came to do. Who I came to be. Take it, Keith. To the heart of home, to the heart of home. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, boys.
So in 6 days, my daughter Joy turns 18. Yeah, imagine how I feel. I made the mistake of asking her, so what do you want for your 18th birthday? Now she's going to Brazil. Yeah, really. Wow, indeed. What was I thinking? But it's going to be cool. My brother lives there, so she's going to visit family. They're doing a staycation. I forget that Brazil is as massive a country as it is. So my brother and his wife, and they have, I think he's 5 now, 5-year-old nephew. They're going to go traipsing all over Brazil and drag my daughter with him, and she's absolutely elated. 18 is a big deal. How many of you have adult children in the room? So adult children. So you've been through this already, right? How many of you have children who are not yet adults, as in they're like teens or younger? All right. So you have yet to go through what's happening, but as your kids get older every day, it's like this whole like, this milestone after milestone is reached, and the running joke we have is that I said to her, when Joy turns 18, we're gonna have a joint celebration. Her crossing that, line into adulthood, autonomy, and me celebrating the fact that I kept her alive this long. And she turned out okay. I mean, the jury's still out. There's a lot of time to go, but she kind of turned out okay. It's a big landmark milestone. There's another milestone that happened, not so much a milestone, event that happened in my life this week. I sold my house, and now not the house I'm currently living in, I'm renting. This was a house that we lived in Kansas City when myself, Joy, my late wife Jennifer, we moved halfway across the country from DC for Jennifer and then later myself to attend ministerial school. And we were going to move, we were going to rent, you know, because we didn't have plans to live there long term. This was right before, year before the housing bubble did that whole thing. And it turns out in the Midwest, you could buy for so cheap. I mean, who knew, right? I mean, you look at rents and property values here in, you know, most of the East Coast, you know, Boston, DC, and even like cities like Raleigh now in North Carolina where we lived for a while. It's ridiculously expensive. But in the Midwest, like what you would pay for a house here, you could buy an estate there with lots of acres of land. So we were like, you know what? It's actually, we can afford to buy a house. So we bought this house. We lived in it for about 5 years. And then since then, I've been renting the house. You know, letting it accrue value and so on. And then I realized that even though I wasn't living in this house, it was still one of these things that was, you know, hovering in the back of my mind as something that occupied my attention, my focus sometimes. You know, I have a property management company, but sometimes things need to be done. How many of you own investment properties or have owned investment properties? You know what I'm talking about. You know, it's there, but you still have to pay attention to it. So this year rolled around. I thought, you know what? It might be time to sell this house. It's accrued a little bit of value, and I'm not moving back to the Midwest. Nothing against the Midwest. Hi, Midwest people. But I am not a Midwesterner. There's lots of stories I could share to prove that, but we're not going to go down that road right now. So I decided to sell the house. It finally closed this week. And something unexpected happened. Something unexpected happened to me. Between the combination of my daughter turning 18 and me selling this house, all of a sudden, I found myself again awash in waves of grief. Y'all are sitting there going like, well, of course. And I was like, why didn't y'all give me some heads up then? Yeah, you didn't know, I know. But it was, and about the house thing especially, it was kind of weird because I haven't lived in this house for about 10 years, you know, and as Joy used to point out, like we've moved pretty much every 4 years of her life. We just go from place to place to place. The job takes us. It's part of what she's been used to, for better or for worse. So we haven't lived in this house for 10 years, but here I am selling this house, and all of a sudden this stuff is coming up. You know, and she turned 18, and every time for us, Joy and I, we hit these life milestones. They're bittersweet. You know, it's amazing to see the young woman she has become, is becoming, to see the both positive traits of her parents that she's inherited, and sometimes the not so positive ones she's inherited. I keep telling her, you know, that dark, snarky sense of humor she gets from me, it might serve you well, but you got to know your audience. So we're still working on that a little bit. Still working on that. That'll come with time. And I remind her, I am not your audience. So, you know, but she's a good kid. She's a good young woman. So these milestones are bittersweet because, of course, there's the absence of her mother who's not here to witness them. And there was a time when we were like, can't wait till we get to those milestones to celebrate them all together. So here I am in this, and I believe there's no such thing as coincidence. I believe there's synchronicity of alignment. And I'm really glad that last week, Dr. Gary Simmons was here. If you've not seen his talk, please go online and watch it on YouTube. And, you know, if you hadn't done the Q process that he came and did the workshop, he's going to be back, and we'll be doing more of that and more of that. But one of the things that he said last week that was so pivotal, I think, was this idea of when the stuff comes up in your life, we welcome it. He talked about his cancer diagnosis last week, and he talked about when he was diagnosed, he welcomed the diagnosis. He didn't resist it. Now, it was weird for me to hear him say that, given that that's also how my wife passed away. So again, there was another, like, you know, when it rains, it pours kind of deal. But he was like, we've got to welcome it. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. That's, you know, pretty straightforward. But then I found myself this week a little bit in that struggling of the welcoming as the feelings came back up. How do we welcome the adversity? How do we welcome what we've labeled as negative feelings? How do we welcome the things that we don't want to feel? How do we welcome the approaching and impending sadness and loss that we know might be coming because one of our friends or family members is very ill? How do we welcome these things? And I realize that in these situations, in some ways, we've been misinformed, because what we sometimes attempt to do is to use our spiritual practices in order to avoid what's in front of us. I'm always telling you to meditate, right? This is where you say yes, because I've always been telling you, meditate, right? I'm not asking you if you do it. I'm always saying to you, this is part of how we expand our consciousness through these spiritual practices, like meditation, like yoga, like, you know, there's 1,000 to pick from. And I always say, or I have said things like, you know, we want to do these things sometimes more when stuff's hitting the fan, but then when things are going great and life's flowing and we're just in the abundance and the thing of it, sometimes we don't practice as much then. You know, maybe that's just me, but sometimes we don't as much. And we kind of got that backwards. We got to do it the other way around. When stuff's going great, that's when we make sure we are consistent with our practice. Because what happens sometimes is when the unwelcome shows up at our door, sometimes it's hard to jump into these practices. You've probably heard me say sometimes that's the time you need to double down on your practices. And if you can do that, that's great. But the truth is sometimes that's difficult. It took me a year and a half almost to get back into a regular routine of meditating after my wife passed away, because it was just too hard to sit. So what do you do in the meantime? And I think Reverend Gary nailed it last week when he says you welcome it. That way, the very thing that you were attempted to avoid in and of itself becomes a new spiritual practice. Sitting in the discomfort becomes a spiritual practice. Now, how does that happen? What happens when you sit in some place that's uncomfortable, like physically? When you physically sit in an uncomfortable place, what happens? What do you do? What does your body do? You squirm, right? You kind of move, you shift. So you're doing your best to at least try to find a passable level of comfort in this uncomfortable situation. Sometimes you might want to get up and move, but also what happens to your mood when you are in some place uncomfortable? What happens to your mood? It kind of goes downhill. You get crabby, you get irritable, you start shoulding on yourself. I should have never sat here. I should have never come here. I should have never. Okay? We get to this place of regret. We get to this place of sometimes self-incriminating ourselves. If I had done this in the past, this would not have happened now. And we go through all this thing. Sometimes we are also in a sense of helplessness. I'm in this uncomfortable position and there's nothing I can do about it, which for some of us is even worse. Because some of us, we like to do the C thing. We like to control. And when there's a sense of helplessness, there's nothing we can do to control. And it drives us crazy. It drives us nuts. We can't quiet the mind. Okay, we try to sit and meditate and say, we can't quiet the mind. But what if the discomfort itself was the practice? What if the discomfort itself, that which we are trying to avoid welcoming, that's what we are trying to stave off, that what we are seeking to reject because it doesn't make us feel good, what if that is the practice itself? The ability to be with it and not run from it or avoid it. What if that is the practice? Because if you sit in a chair that's really uncomfortable, what does it take to stay in that chair? What does it take? Might take willpower, but beyond that, because willpower is a real mental thing. But beyond that, what does it take? What? Commitment takes commitment, but it also takes a sense of shifting your perception to say, this is okay. This is okay. What I am feeling now is okay. This uncomfortable chair is okay. This uncomfortable situation, this is okay. This sense of grief and loss, this is okay. Some of us are pre-grievers. We know something's going to happen, and we are already there in the emotion of it, right? That's okay too. That's okay too. What if we didn't avoid the feelings? What if we didn't say to ourselves, you know what, I feel crummy right now, so I'm going to go do like a dozen downward dogs, or I'm going to go try and meditate, and again, I'm not saying don't do these practices, but if you're using your spiritual practices to avoid the authenticity of that moment in front of you, then you're misusing your spiritual practice. You're misusing it because you're saying to yourself, I do not want to be present to what is right here in front of me right now. And here's the thing, folk. We can't avoid what's in front of us right now. When we sit in the places of discomfort within ourselves, and we become so uncomfortable that it causes us to keep shifting and shifting and stirring and stirring, something amazing happens. Something amazing happens. We get to the bottom of what's underneath all those feelings. Not the source, not what caused them, but even lower than that. We get to all the thing that we've been practicing for up until that moment, which is the deepest part of ourselves. Sometimes we cover up the deepest part of ourselves, again, with the good feelings of our spiritual practices. See, nothing has inherent meaning. We give the meaning to it. And we can use things for good reasons or not so good reasons. I know that I have used my spiritual practice in the past to avoid getting to the deepest parts of myself. It's a weird paradox because you use them to get to the deepest part of yourselves, but sometimes as we get deeper and deeper and we start to uncover what's at the bottom and it scares us, we go, I'm just going to go sit in the silence. I'm going to go walk the labyrinth. We actually use our spiritual practices to distract ourselves from the deepest parts of ourselves. And we know when we're doing it. We know when we're doing it. We know when we're intentionally saying to ourselves, I don't want to face this right now, but I'm a good spiritual person, so I'm going to go do something spiritual. Okay? But what if we didn't do that? What if we did say to ourselves, you know what? Right now, meditation ain't working. Right now, I know if I go walk into a labyrinth, I will get lost, even though there's no way to get lost in a labyrinth. Right now, I know that if I go do some yoga, I'm going to fall off the mat. What if we just said, you know what, this hurts right now, and all I'm going to do is just sit in the hurt. Sit in the hurt and see what happens. Because as long as we're not welcoming it, we're putting up a resistance to it. And as long as we are resisting, we are saying, there is a piece of my divine experience that I don't want to take in right now. And we don't grow that way. We've got to welcome. We've got to embrace. We've got to be with, sit with whatever comes our way. It's a very challenging and subtle practice, and it'll come up when you least expect it. But trust me, you will be better for it. Rumi has this poem where we've taken that line that we love the most from it, where it's about the wounds, or where the light gets in. Remember that Rumi poem? I wish I'd thought to bring it today, but I don't remember the whole thing. But Rumi has a poem where the individual talks about the wounds in the heart, and Rumi says, you know, the wounds are good. That's where the light gets in. But there's an earlier part of the poem where he asks the individual, what are you carrying in your heart? And he says, pain and sorrow. And Rumi says, sit with it. Sit with it. Because the wound from that pain and sorrow, that's where the light gets in. So, my daughter turns 18 in 6 days. It'll be a time for celebration. It'll be a time of transition for her. I said to her, no, she asked, does this mean that you're kicking me out the house? I said, of course not. You're welcome to live here, but, you know, if you really want to say what happens, you got to start paying rent. That's, you know, we have these discussions about responsibilities now. But it will not be the full-fledged moment of joy, pun intended, that we perhaps had anticipated before. But it's going to be okay, because we're not going to resist it. We're not going to try to make it something different than what it is. We're going to welcome it and realize that the bitter part of that sweet is only bitter. It's only bitter because we still love what we have lost. We still love what we have lost. And to resist that bitterness is to resist going back to that feeling of loving. When we resist, we rob ourselves of a precious gift of whatever that thing we're resisting might bring to us and for us. So that's my invitation for you this week as you're moving forward in your lives and beyond. When the feelings come up around something in your lives that whether it's connected with pain or loss or grief or fear around something you can't control, if you're not able to redirect your thoughts, as we've so practiced in unity for years and years, because we know how we think and perceive and understand the thing creates our experience of it. If this thing is so big, intense, that just simple redirection of thoughts won't work, if it's so close to your heart that you can't get yourself engaged in a spiritual practice, go to option C. Just welcome it. Just let it come. And realize that at the bottom of it, you feel this way because of the deep love that you have for this person or this situation in your life. And allow that to be the thing that sustains you through it, that feeds you through it, that is the rich soil from which you can grow from it. So don't avoid, embrace, and welcome, and in so doing, thrive. Six in a meditation. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to plant your feet on the floor, close your eyes, feel yourself supported by the chair beneath you. And just take a few deep breaths for a moment and allow the breathing to pull you into your heart space. And it might help to put your hand over your heart to help focus your attention there, but let's just breathe into the heart. Imagine it is not air, but waves of love that you breathe from your heart space. Let us remember that this heart, this symbolic center of our being, is the point at which the divine and I are one. It is the point of love. And when we suffer from the griefs and loss that have happened or have yet to happen, it is because we love. Let us welcome that deep love. Let us welcome what takes us to that deep love. No matter what it looks like, how it feels, or how much we don't want to experience it. Welcome it, because it takes you to the deep love. Should you be in a situation in your life right now where there's this level of discomfort, whether it be a loss that you suffered, a loss you know is coming, a sense of helplessness for a loved one, welcome it. Know that it takes you to the deepest love, beyond fear, beyond attachment. Welcome it. It is a spiritual practice of vulnerability, openness, of surrender. to let us sit for a few moments in the silence, welcoming, embracing to the deepest love. Embrace it in the deeper love. We hold that intention for all these names and circumstances in our prayer box. These are truly reflections of love. The love that those who have written out these prayers and put it in the box for others in their lives. And we remember and hold that intention that all these people, all these circumstances are a reminder of the presence of God. Should you hold that intention for anyone else, I invite you to say their names out loud now. In so doing, we set an intention to see them and see ourselves in their lives as reminders that we are the presence of God. And we hold a special prayer for those affected by Hurricane Florence and those here affected locally by the gas explosions this week. We hold the intention that everyone affected remember that these are but opportunities for them to show up as the divine and for us to show up as the divine in their lives. This is how God brings comfort. This is how God brings compassion through our thoughts, through our words, through our actions. So we embrace, we welcome, and we grow. So it is.
Haunted by dreams that were meant to come. of salvation came shining through you, and you said, God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all God is all there will ever be. God is all God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be.
Thank you, Reverend Ogun. So as you get your tithes and offerings ready, I'd like to just have the prayer chaplain stand. These people are here for you to pray if you're in a space that you need prayer, or if you have a prayer of gratitude, or if you didn't get what Ogun said, go see a prayer chaplain, as we always say. Thank you. We also have a home and hospital prayer chaplain team. I know I saw Annie. Annie's here. I think it's in Catherine. And Nancy, right here. She's here. So these folks will go and visit somebody in the hospital or at home that can't get out. And you can talk with one of them if you have somebody. Also, we have a prayer line. If you go to the website, Unity has a prayer line. These prayers are prayed over for 30 days and then sent to Silent Unity. So that's pretty good right there. So now as we put our tithes and offerings together, let's say our affirmation together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Emily's going to treat us to a solo now till people get ready.
Thank you, Amadi. He not only sounds cool, but he looks cool when he's doing it, too. Cool cat, man, cool cat. Couple other announcements before we bless the offering. Reminder, our Adventures in Faith groups start on September 30th. Remember Bob Atkinson, the author of the book, that book that's sitting over there that I should have brought up with me. Story of Our Time. There you go, Mickey, hold it for me. There we go. That's the book we're using. It is available in the bookstore today. A little discount off the retail price. So if you don't have a copy yet, pick one up. Even if you're not going to be in the group, pick one up. Trust me, you want to read this book. If you haven't noticed on your way in, we've got a table in hospitality where you can start signing up for groups. If you have wanted to think about hosting or facilitating a group, today's the last day you can let us know. But you can, those of you who want to be part of a group, go check to see where the groups are going to be. They're scattered all over the area. So you're going to meet in people's homes for about 5 weeks, once a week. We got places in Amesbury. We got places in Danvers. We got places New Hampshire, scattered all over. So find a group and connect with some people. Maybe even invite some of your friends who don't come to church to come to one of the groups one evening. And if you are facilitating or hosting a group, there's going to be some training which you have to attend either right after church today at 11:45 or after church next week. You don't have to come to both of them, but you can choose one. So after church this week, I'm hearing a little feedback, Chuck. Are you hearing that too? Okay, can we do some of that? Okay. So training after church, 11:45 today or next week. Please attend training. If you do not attend training as a facilitator or host, I will pull your group. I want to make sure that facilitators and hosts, we're all on the same page and you know what you're doing, okay? So if you can't make one of those 2 dates and you sign up to facilitate, please talk to me. We will work something out. But you need to do some training, okay? Also, let's remember that, change the topic, Wednesday night services have resumed. We had the awesome Ricky Byers concert. We had awesome World Day of Prayer this week where we had the Labyrinth. And this week we're going to have the awesome Leslie Smith who's going to come and be doing Wednesday night service. So, Wednesday, 7 p.m., this is the place to be. Let's give thanks for these gifts. So I invite you to take a moment and go to your heart space of gratitude. So whether you gave in here, in this place, in this time, whether you donated online, if you're one of our live stream viewers, whether you have an automatic giving set up through your bank account, no matter how you decide and choose to give and invest in your spiritual community, we are grateful. We're grateful because it allows us to be. It allows us to exist. It allows us to give back to you. And give back to the Amesbury community, give back to the wider unity movement, and be part of the flow. So for these gifts and those yet to come, we say thank you and amen.
And to continue those thank yous, thank you to everybody that's a volunteer here. It takes a lot of people to make just this service happen throughout the week. Special thank yous. We have angels this week are Mike, Jeremy, Frank, Ginny, and Marie, Judy, and the chaplains who created the breakfast and lunch for the workshop, Jane, Joanne, Amy, and Ann. Thank you. Also, just to thank a couple of teams this week, World Day of Prayer team, PowerPoint team, woohoo, Meditation Garden, that's because I'm on it too. Meditation Garden team, and the Gala team. Thank you all. I meant to mention earlier, too, Healers Open House tickets. You can get a ticket from the ushers for that. And I just have a couple of the people that are going to be there. There's going to be energy healing, yoga, angel card readings, and intuitive coaching. Pretty cool stuff to check out. Thank you, board members. Could you stand up? Thank you for your service. And thank you all. Okay, now it's time to release.
There was a time in my life
Let's say standing as we welcome our children, walking as the light.
We are
And we're still walking. We're still walking. We're still walking. We're still walking. Where'd the mic go? All right. You may be seated for a moment.
We didn't get a heads up today. Here we are. We had a guest speaker today. And we did a really cool thing. We sang a song, and we outlined everybody's body, and then we wrote words about everybody, nice words. And amazing, and we looked in mirrors. A lot of you, I'm sure, have done this work before when you try to look in a mirror. It's like no different than with the kids. Emotions come up and all sorts of things. So it was really awesome, and we're going to be continuing the work next week. Sure.
Can you guys hear the song? Quick, quick, quick. They want to go home and watch the Patriots. Come on. Yes, you do.
No,
Come
I
on.
don't.
All right, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you.
We didn't know the song. We learned it in one try.
Okay.
Which means you can too.
I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. Are you ready? Let's stand up. Let's go. All you gods, come on. You ready? I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. Big finish. That you can start loving me.
By the way, also a Ricky Byers tune. So they've been singing Ricky Byers. We've been singing Ricky Byers. Ricky Byers all over the place. This is awesome. So let us take the hand of the person next to you, stand, and let us continue to affirm the truth for ourselves, for these children, for each and every one of us. There is peace on earth, and it begins with us.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we are,